Hey, what's up guys, Benny here and welcome to ranking the Call of Duty Warzone guns from worst to best. We have the huge Black Ops Cold War update coming this week that's going to add 30 new weapons, so I thought it's the perfect and last opportunity to take a look at the current meta and weapons and which guns are the best overall and which ones are most likely going to continue to be used when the Cold War weapons get added in the week. Also, if you are new to the channel, do make sure to hit that subscribe button, as 75% of you watching are not subscribed to the channel, and you'll get better, I promise, especially with all the brand new content coming this week. I'm going to have loads of videos right here on the channel. So without further ado, let's check out which gun is 10th place. Now, in 10th place, we have the hardest hitting assault rifle in Modern Warfare, and also an assault rifle that's overlooked by a lot of people. People just don't get drawn to using the Oden because I think it's got a reputation. It's not as good as like the Kilo, for example, so people just don't use it because one of the biggest downsides with the Oden, for me anyway, is that it had a really slow aim down sight time. However, I've discovered a build and a class setup this season that has made it a really good weapon to use for me. And if you're landing those headshots and you're being consistent, because you have to be landing your shots with the Oden. If you miss, the rate of fire means that your time to kill drops really quickly if you're not landing headshots and like upper body, because there's no room for error with this weapon, I think is the best way to describe it. But if you land those shots, you hit your targets, you will get a lot of kills, and it deserves some more recognition, which is why I've made it 10th place in this ranking my guns from worst to best, ahead of Black Ops Cold War weapons being added into the game. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments, but I better show you the class setup. Now, this is the class setup that I use for the Oden. Now, when you use the Oden, what you really want to make sure that you do is go to the armory and get that really clean iron sight that you saw in the gameplay. So for me, that's the Black Asp that I got in Season 3. Then I go ahead, deselect everything else, put that Colossus suppressor on it before using the longest barrel possible, which is the 810mm. Then, of course, I use the tac laser. That's to kind of reduce the aim down sight in the Oden and make it compete against other assault rifles, because even though it's one of the hardest hitters, it of course has that slow aim down sight that we mentioned earlier. Then we want to use that Ranger foregrip. Once again, recoil control, very important with this weapon. And then we use the 30 round mag so we can take on multiple opponents. But that is the class setup that I use for the Oden. Okay, in 9th place is a gun that a lot of you will probably think deserves to be ranked higher in this list. But for me, the M4A1 is a master, it's a jack of all trades, the master of none. It is an incredible assault rifle, don't get me wrong. It's got low recoil, it hits pretty decently, it shares the same damage profile as a lot of assault rifles, doing 28 damage to the body and 42 for a headshot. So it gets a pretty fast time to kill, especially as the fire rate is pretty solid. Really, there is no real complaints about the M4. However, it's just not as good as some of the other weapons available. Now, I think there are better assault rifles that give you less margin for error, which kind of makes it rank higher for me personally. Now, the M4, don't get me wrong, I think it's still going to compete, especially when the Cold War weapons get added into the game. We've got to remember, these guns are still going to be available, and you still need to know what the best class setups are and where they rank in comparison to all the other weapons. But the M4, definitely one that you're going to still wanting to be used. Let me know what you think down in the comments, but here's the class setup. Now, this is the class setup that I use for the M4A1. It doesn't matter what blueprint you go ahead and use, but I put the monolithic suppressor on it, my favorite. I use the stock M16 Grenadier before using the VLK scope on here, as well as the Commando foregrip and then the 60 round mag. One thing you also want to do, in my opinion, is go ahead to your reticle and change it to the T-pose. I think it's the best sight in the game, especially with a VLK, so make sure you use that. But this is the M4A1 that I use in Warzone. Now, in 8th place, we've got a gun that might cause a little bit of controversy because I think a lot of you may disagree with this gun's placement, but it's just so damn versatile. Like, the MP7 is my go-to if I decide to use a sniper rifle. I think snipers are actually one of the few people who will go, yeah, the MP7, definitely worth using, because it's a gun that is very good up close because it's got an incredibly high fire rate. It's got a pretty decent damage rate as well. It's a bit, once again, it's a bit of an all-rounder. It's like the MP4. It's decent up close, it's decent at mid-range, it still gives you that high mobility that you want with an SMG, and it's just a really fun gun to use, though it just fails to reach the heights. I think it's because of the damage. If the MP7 did a little bit more damage to kind of bring the time to kill up a little bit closer to the MP5, I think everyone would end up using it because it is such a good weapon. And the iron sights, as I said, is super clean because I'm using the Piercer blueprint, which just gives you that different iron sight. As we know, different weapons give you different iron sights from time to time. But the MP7 for me has to be in 8th place. Let me know what you think, but this is the class setup. Now, my 8th place MP7 loadout is pretty simple. You want that monolithic suppressor on there. You want that FSS recon barrel, very, very important. Before the underbarrel is the Merc foregrip. Then for the ammo, I use the 60 round mag, and then finish it off with a stipple grip tape. This is a great all-round MP7 build that really can go with anything in the game, but definitely try it out. In 7th place, we've got an assault rifle that I believe, like the Oden, is a little bit underrated. And I absolutely love this gun because it is so easy to use. I cannot tell you how easy the M13 is to use compared to other weapons in the game. Even the Kilo might not be as easy to use as the M13. If you are new to Warzone or new to Call of Duty, this is the dream gun. It doesn't move, it's got a laser beam, and it's also got a ridiculously high fire rate, which means that if you land your shots, especially that headshot, because it's got an incredible headshot modifier, you drop people so quickly. The downside is you do burn through your mags. So like from an ammo point of view, you can run out of ammo quite a lot if you're getting in a lot of fights and like multiple people, especially in quads. I think quads is the worst for it. But as I said, you can just see the gameplay. It just doesn't move. I'm using that T-pose reticle and it just beams, and I'm not really doing that much to control the recoil, and that is why it's in 7th place for me. Not enough people are using the M13 as an assault rifle. Really interested with the upcoming tuning. I feel like the M13 is in a really good place and competes very closely with the Kilo, which I think is the undisputed best assault rifle in the game right now. But the M13, definitely up there, and should give it a go. Just remember that high fire rate allows you can just lead your target and spray. That's one of the most important things, is hold down that trigger and just make your like adjustments as you need to. But 7th place, and here is the class setup that I use. Now, this is my M13 build that you just saw. I have the monolithic suppressor on there, the Tempest Marksman barrel, of course, the longest barrel that is available to you. I then use the underbarrel, which is a Commando foregrip, the 60 round mag, and then I've been using that VLK scope rather than the Corp Combat Hollow. And of course, once again, changing that reticle to the T-pose, I find really, really helps. But that is the M13 class setup that I use. Now, in 6th place, we've got a gun that I've started using a lot more recently. I think there was a few people who stood by it, like Iceman Isaac was definitely one from the get-go. But the Ram 7 has one of the fastest times to kill out of all the assault rifles. Now, the reason a lot of people didn't use it compared to like the M4 or the Kilo, for example, is because it has quite a lot of recoil in comparison, and it also is an opposite weapon. It kicks to the left rather than to the right like all the other assault rifles, so it's a bit harder to get used to. However, if you're crouching and you get used to it, it is ridiculous. This is one of the few weapons that I genuinely think that you could pick up from a loadout and grab go straight away. It is incredibly good up close because of that really fast fire rate with that 556 damage profile that does 28 damage to the chest, 42 to the bottom, to the head. That's the same as the M4, the Kilo, the Growl, all of them. And you can see it. Like, if you land your shots, I started crouching a lot more with it. People drop so damn fast. And if you pair it with some M19 pistols as well, I can see why some of like the Russian competitive players go ahead and use it, and they've been winning Twitch rivals kill races because they can get go straight away, use the Ram up close, and it destroys everyone. Definitely use this gun if you haven't already. I've been having an absolute blast with it, but you need the right class setup. So let's take a look. Now, my 6th place Ram class setup that I use a lot more recently has the monolithic suppressor on it. I then use the FSS Ranger barrel, the Commando foregrip, the 50 round mag, and then once again that VLK 3x optic with a T-pose reticle. It's a beautiful, beautiful weapon. Takes a little bit more getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, it is a beast and one of the best weapons in the game. So give it a go. Then in 5th place, we've got the Kar 98. I feel like I had to put a sniper high up in this list because, you know, like everyone loves using snipers. And for me, the Kar 98K is the best one, purely because you can use it as a super aggressive weapon. It's a marksman rifle. It's got a really fast fire rate. And once again, it's easy to use. Yes, it's very difficult to hit headshots at a distance, but if you're running with a squad and you're trying to get high kill gameplays, the Kar 98 is the one to use. It's the one sniper that you can run with, and it's like you can reposition really quickly, work the angles, and get those like snap on for those headshots compared to like the HDR, which got that really slow aim down sight time. So for the pace of Warzone, I feel like the Kar 98 is the perfect sniper. Let me know if you agree or disagree, or if you think a different sniper is better. I think some people might say the new SPR is better, but I'm happy with how I'm improving as a sniper. Now, I've never been much of a sniper, but I've been watching people like Stoddy and all that, and I'm like, you know what? I want to snipe a little bit more, and if you do as well, here is the class setup that I'm using. Now, this is the Kar 98 setup that I personally use. I use the monolithic suppressor, the Singard 27.6 barrel. I use the tac laser. On the optic, I use the sniper scope, and then I also use the F-Tac Sport Comb stock. Now, I also go ahead and change the reticle to the second one. Works best for me personally. Whatever you prefer using, go ahead and use that for your sniper scope. But that is the Kar 98K that you want to use as I hit my microphone. Then in 4th place, we've got everyone's favorite SMG, the MP5. What's going to be weird is this time next week, we're going to have 2 MP5s in Warzone, and I don't know which one's going to be better. However, right now, the MP5, it's been in the meta since day one. Ever since Warzone kicked off, it's just an unbeatable beast. It hits like 49 damage for a headshot, and like you can just drop people so quickly, especially the iron sight up close. The hip fire's quality. There's not really a weakness to this weapon, and like I've talked about it a lot on this channel as well. There is no downsides to using an MP5, and it's solidly been in the top 3, top 4 weapons for me in Call of Duty. Actually, I'm lying, it's been in the top 2 for me for most of these types of videos that I've done, but I feel like this season it's dropped down a little bit for me. I haven't used it as much. I know people like Jukies are using it all the time and they're racking up ridiculous kills with it, but there are a few weapons, right, and one especially that we'll see in this video that really dominates up close. And like the MP5, it's lost its crown a little bit, but if you want to use an SMG, this is the one you need to be using. If you're not using a sniper and not using that MP7, MP5 all the way. And you also need to make sure that you're using the best class setup for it, because there are actually a few MP5 loadouts going around. So let's check mine out. Now, for my MP5 class setup, I think you probably already know it. It's that monolithic integral suppressor, the 5MW laser, the Merc foregrip, 45 round mag, and then also we have that F-Tac collapsible stock. This is kind of like the bread and butter for any top Warzone player. You need to be using this class setup. I had to do it. In 3rd place, we've got the CR56 AMAX. This is the assault rifle. I think I got a lot of flack for in previous videos and previous seasons because I didn't rate this gun that highly. I just looked at it, I was like, the gun's got too much kick. However, I have learned and improved and figured things out that can make the CR56 stand up, and that is why it's 3rd place for me. It's the hardest hitting, most consistent assault rifle, and really, if you're an accurate player and you can deal with the recoil, this could be the best assault rifle in the game. I'm not even joking when I say that. It hits like a truck. If you land those headshots, people just drop like a fly. And it's a nice breath of fresh air, if I'm being completely honest. It's what the AK-47 should have been when the AK like was added into the game at the start. And it's really fun to use. Just remember, when you're doing it, you need to have a class setup that controls the recoil. Do things like throwing crouches to drop your recoil, drop shot if you have to, mount when you can, when you're opening up a gunfight. All those little things are going to help you with the CR56, and it is definitely 3rd place. The bronze medal goes to the CR56, the hardest hitting assault rifle, one of the fastest times to kill, and it will not let you down. Make sure to give it a go and let me know what you think in the comments. So this is my CR56 class loadout for any of you that want to go and use it. I use the monolithic suppressor, the Zodiac barrel. I then have that VLK optic on there, the Ranger foregrip, because you need to be controlling that recoil, and then the 45 round mag. And once again, that T-pose reticle. For the 3rd place gun, in Warzone, and I think could stand up again when Cold War weapons get added. Then in second place, we have the Kilo, which is clearly the undisputed best assault rifle. And it's one of the reasons I think I'm really excited about the Black Ops Cold War weapons being added, because the whole meta is going to get thrown up into the air, and hopefully some new weapons are added at the top of the game, because the Kilo is just a great all-rounder. It doesn't hit ridiculously hard. It's still got that 556 damage build that's 28 damage to the body, 42 to the head. It's just the fact that it is so consistent and so easy to use and still hits pretty hard that you can just drop people at mid-range and know that you can snap onto someone's head. It's one of the biggest things that I always say around the Kilo and the CR56 is that I know that 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be able to jump around a corner and snap onto the head and land every shot. That is how accurate and useful the Kilo is. The CR56, I might get a weird bit of recoil kick and miss a shot, which is going to drastically drop the time to kill. Kilo doesn't do that. It's an all-rounder, and you really need to be using it if you haven't already. It's going to be around even with Cold War. So this is the class setup that I use. Make sure to give it a go. Now, this is my Kilo class setup in case you want to go and use it yourself. I still think this is going to stand up when all the Cold War weapons get added, but the monolithic suppressor, the Singard 19.8 Prowler barrel, the VLK optic, the Commando foregrip, the 60-round mag, and then, of course, use that T-pose on there again. And here you have it, the best assault rifle in Call of Duty Warzone right now. Then in first place, of course, we've got the Dragon Breath R9 shotgun. This thing is, I don't even know what to really say about this thing. It better get nerfed with the update for Black Ops Cold War weapons, because nothing stops this. You can run into a building, and unless they've got an R9 shotgun, you can't lose. If you're using an SMG or an MP5, you hear the doof going off, back away, get the hell out of there, because this will destroy you. I run around inside of buildings, especially if you pop dead silence. No one's got a chance, because the sprint to fire shot speed is ridiculous with the right build. It's just a quick double tap. It's got the fastest time to kill in the game at like 100 milliseconds. There is no negative to the doof. That is the biggest problem. It's the best gun in the game. It's slightly broken. Hope it gets changed, but it has to get the gold medal because it's the undisputed king. And if you want to go ahead and use it yourself, I'm going to give you the class setup. It's probably getting nerfed this week, but here you go. This is the undisputed best gun in Warzone, and this is the class setup that you want. You want the choke on there, you want the tac sentry barrel, before you have the 5MW laser, the stippled grip tape, and then the Dragon Breath rounds. And that is the best gun in Warzone. So there we have it, ranking the best guns in Call of Duty Warzone from worst to best. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my decisions down in the comments below. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you next time.